Blog Talk Radio.
A sunset, like any great melting, heats a vibrant fire that blends wounded parts together in a magic show that transforms, reminds you of a past where the sunrise woke your senses with rays and flares. You realize In Between is a powerful social theater production that sent you through a powerful roller coaster journey, packed with friends, family, and strangers not so strange anymore. There, knowing, soon comes the answers from above, an open sky of wisdom of those who came before, those that cheered you on from the future, a moon that lights your eyes, knowing a rock is near by keeping you company. Then a falling star, a dream worth claiming, appreciating and making your own. Like anything, it's gone that fast, but you know you got it, and the celebration just might be a slumber away. Maybe, just maybe, the people dancing in your mind aren't that far away.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Speaking Poorly radio show. I'm your host, Anthony Potter. I want to give a shout-out to Joanne Nordness in California, working on her National Houseless Bill of Rights. I want to give a shout-out to the Community Dinner Project in Sacramento, feeding people and standing up for the right to rest in Northern California, in solidarity with everybody on the streets across the world. I want to give out a shout-out to Homeless Ecoville and Brian King, along with Oscar Journey, over in Charleston, South Carolina, occupying and making a stand outside the state house there. I want to thank everybody for their support and keeping Homeless News Now going, along with the Unholy Ink Tattoo in Tucson, Arizona, offering free artwork and piercings 24 hours a day. The 420 Social Club for offering a place for medical marijuana patients to hang out, get involved in activities, and a safe place to medicate. A shout out to La Andita Mexican Restaurant, always offering homemade a gourmet Mexican food made by their nana. Always a good treat, and offering a safe place for people in the community to get together. Tonight I have modern-day hippie Kyle Barber with us, and we'll be talking to you a lot about that stuff. So let's go ahead and get right into that. Kyle, are you here with me?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, cool, Kyle. So tell us, what have you been up to lately?
Oh, man, tons. Mainly I've been part of the SMI Sector out here for, I'd say about 5 years now. Just recently I've been going through a major mentorship with one of my best buddies.
Oh, yeah? And tell me, how's that going?
Man, I'm feeling real good, man. Let me tell you this, the SMI Sector, they say they can do a lot. They can do a lot. But, man, I'll tell you right now, when it comes to a man that actually knows his stuff, I feel so much better being around my best friend. Reason why? Empathy, man. Love, empathy, and care. Big reason on that part is, who's showing that nowadays? Very few. Or people are scared to actually show it.
And tell me this, who is this friend, and where can you find him?
His friend's Anthony Potter. And you can find him at the 420 Social Club on 4th Avenue.
And so, when it comes to your SMI treatment, how's that going? Where's that standing?
Well, I'm a member of Hope Incorporated, owned by Dan Haley. He's currently the CEO. And my treatment over there, I've been with him for a year now. And I just got housing in November.
So what you're telling me is you were a client of theirs for a whole year. They're part of what you call the Tucson Pima Coalition to End Homelessness, where they, with all the other organizations, are getting $156 million a year, and it took them a year to get you off the streets.
And actually, the funny part was I've pretty much been through Kodak, La Frontera. Oh, and I don't want to get in with La Frontera, man. Oh, man. Those guys, very interesting sort. But yes, it took Hope until November 4th, 2015, to even suggest that they had a housing case manager.
And tell me this, did you ever miss an appointment?
Actually, yes and no. And the hard part on that one is they like to ping you around to wrong people. And when they do, they blame it on you.
So what you're saying is you might have missed an appointment because they gave you bad information, and then when you didn't show, you were held responsible?
Yes, sir. Definitely so.
And tell me this, do they have a current treatment plan for you?
Yes, they do. And it's called an ISP, an Individual Service Plan.
And so that's a contract, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And so in that contract, as the person getting services, you're going to do certain things to meet that treatment, and they're going to do certain things to meet that treatment.
Yes, sir.
And have they fulfilled their side of that contract?
Well, the funny part is I've made a very vague thing in there called stability.
And stability, that's one of those things that's a foundation for
mental and physical safety.
And there's it's like when we talk about sleeping, we talk about bathrooms, we're talking about family, we're talking about nutrition. That's all foundations of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And so in your treatment, when it comes to stability, that's one of those foundational pieces. That's part of where housing comes in.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
What else are you needing besides housing to be stable?
Me? Mainly my mental stability. I'm a manic bipolar affective with psychotic features. And me going through that, they pretty much have me labeled as an ignorable crazy man. And if I'm not on their meds, when I say their meds, a.k.a. the FDA prescribed what I call death meds, they can ignore you or play games with you, a.k.a., if you didn't do what they wanted, and by the way, they say this is a patient-for-patient, by-patient treatment program.
And so tell me this, when you say that they tend to think that at times that you're hard to deal with, at times you're emotional, at times there's stuff going on to where they find it hard to deal with you. You're probably thinking it's hard to deal with them. That's part of your manic bipolar effective of disability. So that tells me that under the American Disabilities Act, they should be accommodating you at that point and going out of their way to be kinder and gentler and to have patience to help you get through that struggle. Have they done that?
Some have and some haven't. And the reason why I say that is pretty much, hey, they say, they've been coercing me into things I haven't been wanting to do. Like, do you want your appointment? Do you want this? What can we do for you? That confuses me.
In what way?
Well, if I ask you, what do you need? Well, what do you need?
Well, I know if it was me, the things I need is a yard where I can plant seeds, where I can grow my own food. For me, it's having access to a stove, to flour, to salt, to hot water, so I can make a different crafts like paper mache and air dry clay and different stuff, so that I can do what I know how to do as an artist and as a poet, to empower me to be able to speak and to get a message out and to do things to show and to help others train in these things, so that with Homeless News Now we can get a lot more of that out there. That's what I would be asking. So I would be asking for crafts supplies. I would be asking for yard space. I would be trying to get a hold of seeds.
I understand. Well, I'm wondering why I have to come to Hope every single day to do stuff like that.
Are they billing for when you come by every day?
Heck yeah, they are.
And who are they billing?
My insurance, Access, Simpatico, etc. And I'm wondering why I'm being billed for things I'm not doing over there. You know, they have these things called conformity classes. They don't call them that, but that's what I can call them. You know, if they're allowed to use fancy words, why can't I?
And so what would you consider conformity training?
Now, elementary school, middle school, high school. Depression classes. Anger classes. Stuff that says, you can't do this. This pisses people off. Or their drug classes. Now, their drug classes are very vague. They say, you are the issue. But then they come back and say, hey, that's only a title. You shouldn't feel bad about it. You know, it sounds like pretty much a word game to me. You know? And once I started figuring these things out and everything like that, they became very hostile with me.
Hostile how?
Well, for one, making me redo my ISP, breaching their original contract with me, because the ISP is a contract under contract law between me and the CEO.
And so when you say they've became that way, did they call you names? Did they say things to make you feel bad? Did they say things to get under your skin? Did they act in an aggressive manner with you?
Yeah, actually the site coordinator, the director, her name's Dina. She actually admitted they were negligent in my care. That actually infuriated me because they're just saying this basically agreeing to disagree. It's part of that training that they have and everything like that. I don't think any of these guys are trained right, AKA, like, I've got court issues, I even have a pot case. And this is the hilarious part about it, I don't have a victim in that case. That it wasn't even on me, and they're what they call court liaison. The city court liaison doesn't have any criminal history, aka going to school for this stuff.
Tell me this. I find this pot case interesting because doesn't Arizona recognize cannabis as a medicine?
Well, isn't it still a Schedule 1 next to heroin with no medicinal value?
Well, yeah, but the state of Arizona says that it's medicine, and they allow people to use it as medicine. Why are you in a criminal court facing a charge if Arizona recognizes it as a medicine? You're you work with a mental illness program. That's a medicine. You're in criminal court, though. Explain that to me.
Well, that one's kind of hard to explain. Oh, no, it's not. I'm sorry. The weed wasn't even on me. I was entrapped. That's the funny part about it. I spent a long time stuck on a real drug. And they were doing an investigation on that real drug called spice. But the funny part is, how did I end up getting charged for weed but not spice?
So are you saying, you say that it wasn't found on you. Are you saying the cop planted it there?
Well, the funny thing is, he had short sleeve shirts on and stuff like that, and stuck his hand behind me and pulled out some of the most beautiful buds I've ever seen. How can a homeless man, at the time, afford something of that nature?
Well, tell me this. How much does it cost in Arizona to get a medical marijuana card?
It depends.
On what?
Well, if you have food stamp card, or if you go to one of the specific, like Dr. 420, Dr. Moroso, the pot doctor, tumbleweed, stuff like that. It can cost $350 plus.
So you're a mental health patient. You are in court facing charges over medicine. Can you afford $300 for medicine? For a card to get medicine?
Heck no, I can't.
So you're in the mental health sector. You're facing a criminal case for being in possession of medicine and you can't afford to get a card that allows you to have that card or have the medicine legally, but you're also claiming that you weren't in possession of that medicine. When Hope Incorporated comes to your court hearing, how are they advocating for you?
Nothing. Brian, he was just sitting there on his phone the entire time, dialing away on Facebook or doing whatever he was doing. And I had to bring a friend in for court support. I felt really good in there. I felt like I could actually be myself. And the best part about it is I could actually stand up in there and say, hey, I can see the wrongdoings in here. I don't feel equal to another man in here.
Tell me this. Were you given, when you went to that court hearing, did you have an attorney already appointed to you?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you have someone come up to give you legal counsel that was a representative of the court?
Oh, no, I had somebody come up and browbeat me into the hallway.
And who was this guy?
I have no idea, because he never stated who he was.
Was he in a suit and tie?
Pretty much.
Where did he sit in the courtroom?
Ooh. He sat with the prosecutor right next to him.
The whole time?
Oh, yes.
So you are in the mental health sector. You don't have the money to get a medical card. You're being charged with possession of a medicine that you say you didn't have, where there might be evidence in the case pointing that you didn't have it, and you're not being given a lawyer to defend yourself. Meanwhile, you have a prosecutor browbeating you outside of the courtroom.
And the funny thing is, I still don't know who that guy was. The prosecutor was still sitting up there. Who was the guy next to him that came up to me? That came out in the hallway. By the way, that guy was extremely rude. He told me this: we ain't going to give you a jury. I'm like, really? You ain't going to give me what I can legally have? Oh, I found out it was a bench jury instead of a jury trial.
So the judge is going to listen to the case?
Yes, he is.
And is the judge already made aware of in the case that you're part of a mental health program, that you don't have the money to get medicine or the card to get medicine, that you might not have had the medicine on you, that you don't have a lawyer, and that the prosecutor is going out of his way to put pressure on you?
Pretty much.
So the judge knew all this?
I highly doubt it.
Did you let the judge know about this stuff?
I let him know everything that I currently knew, which wasn't that much.
And tell me, when the cops have interacted with you, what's their response to you?
Very hostile.
So would you say they have proper or any mental health training?
I don't think they have any sensitivity training.
What do you mean by sensitivity training?
Well, I do believe that they like to provoke through compliance or aggravate people.
And what happens when someone with a disability like yours gets aggravated rather than de-escalated?
It can cause a couple of things. Confusion. And usually confusion can go into anger, scare, basically the fight or flight syndrome.
And so, with this being, I have to ask you this, because this is Arizona. We have SB 1070, where they say based on suspicion of your skin color, of the language you use, of certain cultural garb. They can single you out to see if you're undocumented or not. Have you had any racial issues from the police as far as sensitivity?
Actually, I have. I was down at the benches over in 4th Avenue, and everybody knows where the red benches are. You know what everybody does over there, etc.
Enlighten the people who aren't from Tucson that are listening.
Oh, it's a very popular place to sit, smoke, converse, and just have fun, usually. But it's consistently being harassed by the police because of the businesses and stuff like that. It's also, I consider it a big trap haven. I got harassed really bad over there. I was actually compared to a Spanish mentally ill man over there one day with a friend of mine, an elderly demented man who had an emotional support pet over there. Well, they actually came up to him and started badgering him before me. And when they came up to me, they got me confused with a Spanish man that they said was doing sexual things, perverted things down the road. Now, mind you, I was sitting there the whole time with this elderly, demented man and his girlfriend and a good friend of mine named Voodoo. So I do have witnesses on this and stuff like that. Now, me being the cognitive and coherent person that I think I am, and I know I am, I saw right through the ploy. They don't like activists in this town. They don't like people developing what they call threat intelligence. And they sat there and recorded me with a car, one of their police cars. And just to figure out what kind of man this is, what's going on, etc. and stuff like that. I got profiled, racially profiled. I am a Native American.
And as a Native American, what are your rights under the UN Declaration for Indigenous People?
I have the right to do anything that's considered religious under my culture. Natural medicines, traditions, etc., etc. I have the right to live. I have the right to do whatever is under our doctrine. But the funny thing is, the United States never signed it. And why does the United States pay up to 68+% of the UN's? I have no idea what's currently happening on this stuff, man. But the best part is, they're being culturally insensitive to my needs.
And first off, I want to let everybody know, thank you for listening to the Speaking Poorly radio show. I'm your host, Anthony Potter. I'm speaking with modern-day Yippie Kyle Barber. And thank you for go ahead and listening. You can and listen to the full show on homelessnewsnow.com or Homeless News Now on Facebook. And of course, check us out and thank you for listening to the Speaking Poorly radio show. We're going to continue on now for another 15 minutes, so check out the full show online. So when it comes to them treating you with insensitivity, so you're in court, you're part of the mental health sector, you're treated in a lot of horrendous ways. You're not given your accommodation. You're Native American. They're not notifying your tribe of what's going on.
I was about to get
and on top of that, they're putting you on trial for what's protected as a natural medicine.
A world medicine. And it's been known. And the nasty thing about it is my tribe wants to know where I've been for the last 13 years. I mean, wouldn't you want to know the mental health and the well-being of one of your tribal members, where he's been, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, this is common sense, man. Straight common sense. And I speak to him about it. I even showed him my card. I showed absolutely my card. And when I got hemmed up, I never got it back.
And so your property that you never got back, did you try to get it back?
Oh, yeah.
And what happened with that?
I got about 90% of my stuff back. They said I couldn't have, it's not on the property list. How come I got something for nothing? How come you're allowed to toss out the laces? How come you're able to toss out people's IDs, Social Security cards, and everything, and it's not on the documentation? They keep on telling us about documenting things. How come they're not documenting it and just tossing things out? So I don't have any proof in court. And
isn't that an ethical violation? Improper training of the AZ Post, and isn't that illegal search and seizure?
Anybody with common sense would say yes.
Isn't that abuse of civil asset forfeiture?
Oh, definitely so.
And have you put in an internal affairs complaint on any of this?
Unfortunately, I don't have any documentation saying I have any of this. I have never even got police reports on any of this stuff. I have never gotten anything in response to this. And in this pot case, I still haven't even seen my public defender yet because I never got a letter from the office. Now, they did give me a number to call by the 27th. Funny thing is I called, and I was on hold. And on hold, and on hold for about 30 minutes. I became aggravated and hung up. I'm mentally ill. Or at least they say so.
And so, through this, once again, you were not accommodated with them knowing that part of your illness is getting emotional and needing accommodation with that.
You're right. And they know that people with bipolar and everything like that need constant reminders because we tend to forget stuff. Hope knows that. And Hope doesn't care. I'm sorry. Kind of feels like false advertising on there.
And so, with all of this going on, going back to Hope, still thinking this is breach of contract.
Oh, definitely.
Still thinking that this is malpractice.
I have not seen a real doctor in there.
How are you being treated without seeing a doctor?
Well, they have certified nurse practitioners, but any competent person can say nurse practitioner can only give out medications, or at least recommendations for them.
And so, whenever tell us, when you try to bring this stuff up to Hope, describe the room, describe the color, describe the furniture, describe who's in the room, how many people are in the room.
Well, it depends on the meeting. Actually, the only nurse practitioner I ever saw was a lady that was copying stuff from a computer that I caught her once I was transferred from La Frontera. I told her to turn that computer screen around, and she was copying the same diagnosis of her. I ended up asking her for her DSM-5, which they used to guesstimate your problems in your head. I sat there and went through it and said, oh, this is bipolar. I have that. Oh, that's mania. I have that. I even asked these guys for an ADHD test. Oh, I'm sorry. ADHD isn't applicable after 18. It's called adult ADD. Well, hold on a second. I'm not a doctor, but I can still do research on the web. And I can still ask questions, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, I do believe it's called hypermedic.
Well, when it comes to asking questions, that's a consumer right. We have the right as consumers to ask questions before we make a purchase. We have the right to ask questions before we have a contract. Before we go any further with the contract, we have the right to have the proper understanding. We have that so that we could make an informed and aware decision. Are you saying they're treating that consumer right as an illness?
I don't believe so. I believe they're actually coercing the mentally ill over there into saying yes and or no.
And based on whether they answer yes or no, are they denied resources?
Oh, definitely yes.
Are they denied opportunities?
Depending on the situation, yes.
So what resources might they be denied if the answer is not the right one?
You can go over to this navigator over here. You go to that navigator over there and you start asking, as a consumer, the right questions. And they start getting angry. Because it's like, oh, I am a felon. Then how come I can't have any of these jobs that are up here that I know I'm qualified for?
So they have job postings where?
Right next to where the food is.
And so they put that up there so that if anybody's interested in working, they know what's available at that site where they're hiring so that they can maybe talk to their case manager, talk to their treatment team, talk to HR, get the training, meet the requirements, and do different stuff.
But none of them do that. There's a huge communication issue over there. And I even have documentation for that. I have an hour and 13 minutes of them admitting they've been wrong. And coercing me into stuff I don't want to do. Or trying to get me my appointments. Trying to get me to say, yes, I don't want to have that appointment. Stuff like that. They're telling me this is patient by patient that I control my treatment. I've asked them who controls my treatment. And they don't tell me. And everything like that. I fear for my stability by going in there sometimes if there is a psych appointment scheduled without me letting me know first. I know about Rule 11 and Rule 36. Those turn you into state property, just like being put into prison. And I have an undiagnosed cognitive behavioral disorder. Now, any competent person can say, oh, you've been to prison? Well, let's take vets. They've got their war issues. And let's take people from prison. I consider that a war issue too, the war on drugs, or the war on this, and this. Can you imagine sitting in a box for 8.5 years? I did 100% of my time in there, sitting in a 6x12 box with 3 people in there, and me stuck on what they call a boat on the floor with my head next to a nasty toilet that flushes every 5 minutes.
And this whole time you're in that box with the 3 people sleeping on the floor with your head next to the commode. One, that's got to be horrible, especially in the middle of the night when someone needs to use the restroom, because you're either going to be a foot cushion or you're going to be a friendly fire.
Pretty much.
And so you're mentally ill, and this is where you end up. Why?
Because I don't know my rights. I'm not accommodated for anything. I wasn't even told I was SMI until I came to Arizona. I did none of my time in Arizona. I did all my time in Wisconsin. And in Wisconsin up there, they never accommodated for anything of that. They just shoved pills down my throat. And up there it's called OMI now, from my own research.
And what's OMI stand for?
If I remember correctly, it means that you're outstandingly mentally ill. Each day has its own little, how you want to call it, titles and stuff like that. You know? And my tribe, which is controlled by the government, by the way, we have our own constitution and stuff, but hey, remember the illusion of free will and freedom is given to us. By the way, I'm not even an American citizen, it seems like. I have a membership to the United States of America. You know, I basically have a Holocaust number. By the way, I'm not Jewish. Sorry if I'm offending anybody. I can call it a genocide number.
And so here in Arizona, we have this thing over on Apache land called Oak Flats, where Senator McCain and Senator Flake are trying to sell the land from under the Apache people in order to make a huge profit for a mining corporation. Is something similar going on with your people in Wisconsin?
Yes, there is. My uncle Paul Domain has been fighting that for the last 10 years. He's been going out to be a senator of the United States too, but has been ran over consistently. And I'm feeling horrible that I wasn't part of that while I was up there. You know, I've always lived under my father's shadow. My father's vice chairman of our tribe. And, you know, he was in the military and everything like that. He's considered a war hero, everything like that. The problem is now that I'm starting to see the truth of things, we don't have freedom. We're living in a box. I mean, if you actually look at our borders of our tribe, it is literally a big square with a tail on it.
And so tell me about what is the land being treated like up where your people are?
I actually worked for the DNR, the LCO DNR, which is actually a privately run thing from the state DNR and the federal DNR. And at the time, I was doing testing and everything up there for fish and game. And I was seeing state DNR come in and dumping dead fish And I don't know what it was, but I actually now, if I really think about it, it could have been mercury into the water, because the mercury levels were really rising every year up there, killing off rice beds. I mean, honestly, before I went into prison, we had 132 plus rice beds up there, and this is wild rice. You could not find this off reservation